Okay, is this thing on? We're doing a fun little mini mic moment today for the podcast. So, when I was thinking about what I wanted to talk about today, we're going to talk about this viral YAP challenge. Yes, the YAP challenge. And we're using the little mini mic because this is what I see people doing in the YAP challenge on social media. So, today on the podcast, we're going to talk about the YAP challenge. And if you're sitting here listening to me or watching this video on YouTube and you're like, what the heck is the YAP challenge? Well, I had to Google that myself because if you're on social media and you've heard about this, or maybe you're not on social media and haven't really heard about it, this is what they're calling a viral 40-day challenge that this social media, this digital creator challenged people. And it's designed to help people overcome the fear of public speaking and to get more comfortable talking directly to their phones. And so, admittedly, I have not been doing the YAP challenge. I feel pretty comfortable talking to my phone, and I also feel pretty comfortable with public speaking. But I wanted to chat a little bit about it because, however you feel about it, and really part of the reason that people do this is because, especially if you're online, if you run a business, entrepreneur, and a lot of it is through social media, or even just within organizations, there are ways to use social media to be marketing your services. Like a lot of organizations, you have a team that helps you to do your content to get all of that out. That might not be something that you oversee, or maybe you are not really on social media a lot, but it is part of elevating your brand and your business. The piece that I want to talk about, though, and what I love about the idea is not really, I'm not here to help you get better at yapping on social media. But of course, as somebody who helps people with public speaking, whether that is entrepreneurs or small business owners, or it is executives and leadership teams within organizations, as a communication geek here and someone that helps with speaking and presentations, I love the idea because the whole idea is how can you put more reps in? How can you put the practice in and force yourself to do something that makes you nervous, that makes you uncomfortable? And the more you do it, the easier it gets. So I wanted to talk a little bit about that here on the podcast because I will say, as somebody who has done public speaking literally since I was a kid, I always put myself in situations. I would put myself on boards of the 4-H groups that I was on or the different groups I was in. I loved to be the person presenting in front of the room for the group projects. And of course, that's what I did in my career when I worked in training and leadership development. As my favorite part of my job was doing trainings. Now, obviously, as a keynote speaker and as somebody who works with organizations and does trainings all the time, I love it. But a lot of people don't. Public speaking is still one of people's biggest fears. The last I checked, it was still the top fear over death. And so a lot of the times when I start working with people on helping them to elevate their speaking, their presentation skills, for example, if you're within an organization, if you're executive, and you need to start presenting to the board, if you need to run productive team meetings, if you need to have tough conversations, if you need to present town halls or bigger events, all of those different things, there's still the nerves, there's that nervousness. And also, though, you can have the time to practice. Like my top tips are obviously to know what you're going to say and to practice. And the more that you're practiced, the more comfortable and confident that you're going to feel because you're not going to be trying to remember everything that you need to say. However, a question that I get all the time is, how can I get better at speaking on the spot, though? Like when I'm in a meeting or when I'm in a situation where I didn't have the time to prepare. I don't have the notes or the slides or have thought through exactly what I want to say. How do I get more comfortable with that? And this comes up a lot from people because, again, you might have already been practicing and you can feel better. But all of a sudden you're giving that presentation or you're in that meeting, you're in that situation, and someone throws you a curveball and they challenge you on something or they ask you a question that you don't have the answer to. And you are somebody who likes to have the answer. You want all the information. This is where I'll find a lot of my clients start to struggle then, and their confidence really gets knocked. They start to kind of, the maybe handshaking or the voice shaking. They start to get nervous. They might, not be able to answer the question. They might start to say a lot of more filler words because they weren't prepared and they go, how do I practice when I don't really know what's going to happen? How do I get better at in those moment situations? And that's what I want to talk about. That's what I like about this idea of this YAP challenge, is because not only is it encouraging practice and just forcing yourself to do it every single day. I don't even know all the details of it, but I read that it's for 40 days that you're doing a virtual talking into the camera, but you can lift and shift the same idea. So if you're somebody who is online and you're trying to get better at having an online presence, this might be the type of idea for you. Maybe you don't do the official challenge, but you're going to want to start forcing yourself to do it. And I will say, with all of my background and experience in speaking, when I first started my business 6 years ago, and I was like, okay, I need to be on social media. And also, I started my business right before COVID hit. And so everybody's at home. And I'm going, how do I market myself and get myself out there when we can't be with people? Okay, I have to be on social media. And I admittedly was not a big social media person before my business. I didn't even have Instagram, and it was around at that point, but I just hadn't ever been on it. And so I had to get myself on there. And I remember how nervous I was and how stupid I felt. Like, just to be honest, how stupid I felt holding up the camera to my face and talking into it. And one of the ways that and also doing like Facebook lives and doing things like that, I just had so much resistance. What are people going to think? What am I going to say? And I was somebody who did and liked public speaking. So I see why it can be a challenge for people who it's not their background, right? So one of the things that I did was I had gone through a coaching program, and as part of that coaching program, they had a sort of business mentor, and he gave us a 14-day challenge, kind of similar to this idea, where we had to go live and do talking on Facebook Live. And I remember, I look back at those videos now, I'm like, oh my goodness, my background was really bad. I was scripted, and I was, of course, I planned and like prepared, and I felt awkward. And every time that I went on to Instagram stories, I felt dumb. And I was like, what? Who am I judging myself? I was like, wow, I judged other people. I was judging myself about holding up a phone and talking to it. But you know what? I kept doing it. And the more I did it, the more I had fun with it. It was like building this connection and community with people in a way that the only way we could at the time, and also in a way that I was able to connect with people that were all over and build relationships and friendships. That's how I joined other masterminds for my business. That's how I've gotten clients. And so the more that I did it, the more fun I had, the more comfortable that I got with it. And so what I love about this and an idea is, again, maybe yours is going online, but the other thing that I will tell my leaders within organizations is, where can you find opportunities to put yourself in situations that forces you to speak on the spot? So maybe that is, especially if you're trying to elevate your presence and influence as a leader within the organization, maybe it is attending at different meetings that you don't typically attend. Maybe it's part of your development plan that you're talking to your boss about. Say, hey, I want to have a stronger presence. I want to challenge myself in some of these situations. Can I attend that meeting on your behalf, or can I come along with you? And challenging yourself to either ask a question or to be able to speak up in situations. And so really the only way to get better at speaking on the spot is to find situations where it forces you to do it. And so challenging yourself to, again, attend maybe different meetings or take on different projects, maybe set up meetings with different business partners or other people within the organization, and challenging yourself to do that. Because otherwise you can practice and you can have your presentation, but you need to plan for what questions might they ask. So that would be the other tip I have for you, is obviously practicing as much as you can, trying to put yourself in situations where you have to flex that muscle of coming up with answers on the spot, and anticipating. So this is what I say too, is anticipating. You can go in there a little bit prepared, anticipating what questions might they have, who might throw me a curveball, what might they want to know about, because then you can be prepared for 80 to 90% of the questions or things that might come up. And then you have that 10% or so that you might have to say, hey, that is a really great question. Let me, I don't have the answer for you now. Let me take some time and get back to you on that. Or here's a great response that I always share with people as well is, oh, can you tell me a little bit more about that? I want to make sure that I am able to answer this for you. Or what do you mean by that? Like, you can ask a clarifying question and get more information from them. So hopefully these quick little tips are helpful for you in my little mini version of the YAP challenge. And so my challenge for you is, what can you do in the next week to practice those skills in the presenting, in the public speaking, in the speaking on the spot, and really being able to elevate your presence and your influence.